Hello, cyberspace. Welcome back to my kitchen. It's now fall. It's been how many months since I last filmed? Doesn't matter. I was issued a challenge. Our good friend, our Friendly Neighborhood Sterls, said that he has found the best pumpkin bread ever. Ever, end of story. And he issued me a challenge to try to replicate it. Here's the problem, I've not tasted it yet. So I'm flying a little blind today, but I have found 5 recipes online and 1 recipe that I know to make pumpkin bread. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to try several different recipes of pumpkin bread. I've got pretty much all the ingredients I need here. Some recipes actually call for orange juice, some water, some call for sour cream, some don't. They all call for pumpkin, obviously, or it's not pumpkin bread. So there's 2 different methods that we're going to use today. There's the creaming method and there's the muffin method. Creaming method you usually see in cookies and cakes. So my theory is going to give us a little finer texture in the final baked good. The muffin method is very easy, very straightforward. You do it anytime you make muffins or other quick breads. That one I'm going to say is probably going to be a little bit drier of a crumb, maybe a little bit more irregular in the way that the crumbs look. That's my guess. I don't know. I have never made any of these recipes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pare all of these down to a 1 loaf recipe. And then later, our Friendly Neighborhood Sterls will come over and he's going to try all of them. Hopefully he'll have a piece of the sample pumpkin bread that we can try and kind of compare and contrast and see how close I actually got. So let's look at the ingredients. For consistency's sake, I'm using canned pumpkin. Yes, I would prefer to bake my own pumpkin, scoop it out and mash it up and make a lovely puree. I don't have that kind of time. I'm using whole spices. I grind them myself fresh. The flavor's a lot better if you grind them fresh. In fact, I have this lovely thing of dried ginger. I'll probably have it for about 2 years before I use it all. And the last batch that I grind up is going to taste probably about as fresh as the first batch. Maybe a little less potent, but not by much. I'm using allspice, ginger, cloves, cinnamon, and nutmeg. My grinder's not too great. I'll show you what it is. So this is my grinder. It's just a glorified coffee grinder. It really is. The big thing is it's got a very, very sturdy blade system. You probably can't see in there. There's a lot of ground clove in there. But unfortunately, it doesn't get a consistent fine grind. So I have to go back and strain it out and try to get the fine powder away from the bigger chunks. That's just my grinder. One good thing about this grinder, you can take it apart, and that way you can wash this and not have a whole bunch of nasty powder building up in here. So if you guys have a personal preference for grinders, ones that maybe actually do a better job than mine, let me know. And as you see, this is the dull part of it. And there we go, ground cloves. So a lot of people are saying, wow, ground your own spices, that's great. What if you have leftovers? Or what about the leftovers that didn't get ground fine enough that first time around? Pro tip. I have this lovely little container here, and it's filled with a bunch of ground spices that weren't ground fine or leftover or whatever. This becomes my catch-all spice blend. Dump it in, shake it up. So it really does change based on what I've baked and what I've cooked. But I'll just dig out some, throw it back in the grinder, regrind it again, and put it in whatever I'm making. So it could be apple pie or a peach cobbler or anything else like that. Nothing goes to waste in this kitchen if I can help it. Of course, we're gonna need eggs. We're gonna need leavening, baking powder, baking soda. For certain recipes, we're gonna need butter. That'll be the ones that are using the creaming method. Others will need vegetable oil. Those are more the muffin method quick bread. Most of these are just using flour and white sugar. I do have one recipe that is using brown sugar. Of course, salt to help balance all the flavors. And I think that's about it. Each one of these recipes is slightly different, and I'll try to give an overview of the different methods, maybe not so much each recipe. The links to the recipes will be in the info box below. So make sure you check them out. And and we'll kind of figure out later which one's the winner. So I said I've got 5 recipes online, but there's one recipe that I know growing up, childhood, we used to do this a lot. It's very high fiber, lower sugar than some of these breads. So we're just gonna do it and let you guys see. It's a quick, easy way to do a pumpkin spice, unfortunately muffin, because they don't make good loaves. Beyond the pumpkin puree and a little bit of water, spice cake mix. I'm serious. This is our first recipe. One of the interesting things about it is it uses coconut oil that's melted and orange juice rather than just plain water or canola oil. That's pretty cool. It does call for chocolate chips, but I'm trying to make this comparison as equal as I can, so no chocolate chips today. Let me introduce you to the muffin method. Basically, you're going to start with your fat, a liquid, then you're going to add your sugars. So in this case, this does use brown and white sugar, and you're going to mix. Sugar is considered a wet ingredient in a lot of baking, and that's what we're doing. We're combining all of the wet ingredients first. I know sugar doesn't seem like it's a wet ingredient. Tough cookies it is. Next, we're going to add our egg. Eggs have emulsifiers in them, so they will hold the fat of the oil and the wateriness of the juice together in an emulsion. I'm going to also add in my orange juice. And I'm just going to try to mix this egg up a little bit before I really work it in. Alright, so that's worked in. Next, the pumpkin puree. Came straight out of a can. It's going to take a while to get this clump to kind of thin out, but just work with it. You want to do it now, not later. We've done the first step of muffin method. We've combined all the wet ingredients. For time's sake, I've gone ahead and combined all the dry ingredients. I just kind of need to whisk them together to get them evenly incorporated. Done. The last step to muffin method, add the dry to the wet. And you're going to stir as little as possible. The more you stir, the more gluten you're going to work up with that flour, and it has a tendency of making really uneven texture in your baked goods. So forgive all the flour flying, but I'm just mixing it until it comes together. Alright, so there are little lumps of flour in there. There's a little bit of white showing. Boo-hoo. Deal with it. So come on over this way. I already have my pan prepped for this. And now, just dump it in. So now I'm just going to smooth out the top a little bit. And that's that. Now, remember, we don't eat raw eggs, right? Right. No licking the spatula. Into the oven. So we're going to cook it at 350 degrees for about 60 minutes. Then we'll test it and see if it's done. Time to make the other batches. So this is my secret recipe. This is one that my mom and I used to do when I was younger. Makes really great muffins. As you see, I've got some muffin tins already prepped. Just spray them, or if you want to use the cups, you can. Here it is. Hold on tight. It's complicated. 1 can of pumpkin puree. A box of spice cake mix. Dump it in. Half a cup of water. Now we stir. It is going to be kind of clumpy. That's okay. There's the batter. I told you it was complicated. Now you can scoop these in here on your own with like a spoon or something, but I try to keep myself honest by using a disher. And I'm going to put about 2 scoops in each. Okay, so I may have over prepared my amount of pans, and these will fit into 12. Oops, not everybody's perfect. I told you not everyone's perfect. Into the 350-degree oven. "30 minutes is now up for the first loaf. So I'm gonna just pull out the rack. Ooh, that looks good. Let's test. Put a toothpick in. Oh, one crumb came out, but it looks nice and dry. It's good to go. Now the muffins also look pretty good. They've been in about 30 minutes. Yep, looks like a dry crumb on there, but it still feels a little wet, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes. That last one is definitely not done. So this last couple of recipes are all with the creaming method. You use solid fat, you mix it with the sugar, then you add the rest of your wet ingredients. So in this case it is sour cream, vanilla, and pumpkin, and our eggs. Then we'll stir in slowly the dry ingredients. This differs from the muffin method in that we're using solid fat rather than liquid fat. The key to doing a creaming method is we're trying to get a lot of little air bubbles into the butter with the sugar. The fluffier we can get that butter sugar mixture, the fluffier our finished product will be. And we stir and cream it together. I'm adding in the eggs now because the butter and sugar have been creamed well. Now I'm going to let that mix until it's nice and smooth. Alright, now that that looks nice and smooth, I'm going to add in the sour cream pumpkin mixture. I've already put the vanilla in here as well. I don't recommend doing this while the mixer is running, but I'm just checking to see if everything kind of got incorporated off the sides, and it seems like it did. But I see a big lump on my beater that I need to take care of. So I'm just going to kind of scrape this off and start mixing again. Now, slowly, I'm going to add my flour mixture. That was probably a little too fast. Whoopsie-doodles. And we're done. Now I know there's a little bit of flour on here. I'm going to just stir that in with my spatula as I'm getting it ready to pour into the pan. I'm not going to worry too much about it because it will cook out to some degree. I don't want huge honking hunks of flour, but a little dust is not going to bother me. Alright, I have prepared the baking pan according to the recipe. Now I'm just going to kind of smooth it out, get it into all the corners. Voila! Now to bake.
Hello, cyberspace.
We're here with your friendly neighborhood Sterls. He has brought us the epic sample, as he calls it. You said it's from...
It is, well, I got it from Clutch Coffee in Mooresville, but they get it from Queen City Pastry, which is also located in Mooresville, North Carolina.
And I will say that this looks like a very, very dense, heavy pumpkin bread. It almost looks like a fudge. I mean, it's just so dense.
It's got pumpkin in it, all right.
Oh,
it's
definitely.
Full of pumpkin.
Yeah.
How about
It's
the
beautiful. It's beautiful. So I'm going to take this slice, I'm going to cut it up into little sample pieces so we can all try some. And that way we can then compare it to all of these.
This is truly the benchmark of pumpkin bread, especially if it's a little chilled.
Here's your slice.
Thank you.
Let's give one to Tidbit. We have to give one to the cameraman. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
The spice isn't really pronounced in this. It's a lot more pumpkin than pumpkin spice.
Which is good. I like that. Not overwhelming.
But I love the moistness of it.
It is very, very moist. Like I said, it looks like almost like a hunk of fudge. Cleanse the palate.
Well, we might as well go from
Okay.
right to left, though for you guys in the audience, it's reversed.
Yes. So we're going to start this one. This is one that is more recently out of the oven, so it is absolutely crumbling. It is very moist.
Not as moist as the other one, stick, but I still like it a little fluffier that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's fluffier.
It is fluffier.
Mm-hmm. It's got a good spice to it. It's a little bit stronger than this.
Very little bit stronger. It's still a very mild spice, but not as pronounced the pumpkin flavor.
Yeah. Woo! This is one that is definitely fresh out of the oven. It is a hot, hot, hot mess. Cheers.
Cheers.
Even more moist, probably because it's fresh out of the oven.
Yeah, I would probably argue that.
I'm not detecting hardly any spice in there.
Yeah, and oddly enough, this, if it's the one this one probably had a little bit more spice than a lot of these, but it also had way more pumpkin.
I could definitely taste the pumpkin in the majority, but not the, maybe it's just overpowering the spices you added, but I'm not detecting any.
So this lovely little monstrosity.
It's never good when you call your food monstrosity.
All right, here we go. I got more of the top crust, and it's very crunchy. It's good.
Honestly,
It's not as spicy or pumpkin as the last two.
Honestly,
it's not.
It's very bread-like.
It's more bread than any, but it's still good. It's got the slider taste to it.
Let's see if I can do this, because this one actually cut a slice. All right. This is not my favorite. It's a nice, sweet kind of dessert bread.
Yeah.
But there's no pumpkin. There's no spice.
Well, no, what did you put in it? Because I'm detecting something.
Sugar.
Yeah, lots of sugar. That was
There's
really
sugar,
sweet.
That's true.
So after referencing my notes, this does have ginger in it. I think this is the only one out of all of these that had ginger in it. So that's what you're tasting. It really doesn't come out that strong.
It's gingerbread. Light gingerbread.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing, but it's not gingery enough to be real gingerbread.
No.
It's...
Or hard enough to be real gingerbread, or at least gingerbread cookies.
Well, no, you can make gingerbread loaves. I've made those before. They're pretty good. To the last piece. I get more spice right off the bat.
Yeah, there's a lot of spice in that.
Yeah, that one's good. But I don't get the pumpkin.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of people that are probably like that. They'd rather have the spice than the pumpkin, believe me.
Yeah,
There's a lot
that is a wonderful spiced bread.
So we have a spice bread, a gingerbread,
Gingerbread.
a bread, and then finally over here is sort of the pumpkin breads.
I mean, you had a little bit of pumpkin here, but not nearly like you did over there.
And then solidified pumpkin pudding.
Yes. Yes.
That is actually a very apt description. It is almost like a pumpkin pudding. So the last one, these were the super secret recipe that's so super hard.
You got one over here.
Mm-hmm.
I like this one more than all of them.
This one you get more of the spice. definitely more spice.
But there's pumpkin in it.
Yeah. But the spice is a little more front and forward.
Not bad.
So it's not bad for an easy recipe. It's definitely more on the spice side than it is the pumpkin side. And it's weird that we laid it out like this and it wound up, this is more spice and that's more pumpkin.
Let me recommend this now that we've gone through all of it. Let's go back to the gold standard.
So this definitely doesn't have that bready consistency on any of these. It's got a little bit of a crumb grain to it, but it just kind of goes away like
and I think
pudding.
that's probably why, as you put it best, it's almost like a bread pudding, solidified bread pudding. This is, I brought it. This is the gold standard that I brought from my hometown of Mooresville. Believe me, they know me and my dogs by name and my order as soon as I drive in. So
Clutch Coffee's like, hey, Sterls here.
So let me see. I'm gonna, because really it comes down to
these two as being the closest to this. Cameraman has officially put his vote in on the muffins, which is fine. Considering how much sugar is in any of these, that probably has a little bit less. And it's very high in fiber considering how much pumpkin you put in to be able to make it into a batter.
Cameraman's going to the bathroom soon.
If you were to, since you are the ultimate judge in picking the winner of what you think is closest to this,
I would honestly have to say the first one.
Okay.
Followed closely by the second. It's really more, you're looking for more pumpkin or more spice.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it comes down to with these two.
Yeah, I think my vote, just because I like that pumpkin and spice, I think this is the great balance. Whereas if I'm more for a spice kind of day, I'm definitely going to this one because it is very much heavier on the spice.
And if you're craving a gingerbread.
Yeah, there's gingerbread. I kind of agree with Tipsy on this one, though. That one, the other one.
So I did pull all of these recipes online. There were actually a couple that were almost identical. It was strange. It was like this one had a little bit, like a teeny bit more clove than this one. This one had like a little bit more baking powder. But really a lot of the recipes were the same. So I really did try to find ones that were very different from each other. So this one was from Sally's Baking Addiction. This is the one that had the orange juice and coconut oil rather than the canola oil. It is a muffin method version.
Muffin method, that sounds like a band. The muffin method.
Wait a minute,
No.
I thought this one had the ginger in it. So this is the Food Network version. There were a lot of other versions of this out on the internet. There were ones that had a little bit more of a spice, less of a spice, more of the baking powder, less of the baking powder. I was incorrect. This one doesn't have any ginger in it.
It tasted like it.
Yet we all thought it was the ginger cake.
It actually has allspice in it, where none of these others do. This one was the one with the ginger. This one's the one with the allspice. This one was a creaming method, so it was put together more like a cake than it is like a muffin. So this one came from Delish. This one was just very straightforward. Like we said, it's not really pumpkin-y, it's not really spicy, it's just a nice sweet bread. So it's definitely not on our top favorites out of all of these.
Don't let the source fool you. It is not delish.
Oh, it's tasty.
It was tasty. It just, if you're looking for pumpkin spice bread, we don't recommend it. So the one that Phil and I like is from Life, Love, and Sugar. This one had a little bit more clove in it. There really wasn't anything interesting about it. It was kind of a straightforward recipe. It definitely had I think a little bit more spice than some of them, but we liked it. And again, we can't really tell if the moistness of it comes from the fact it's still like scalding hot or if it's just how it is. Are you going to try it now that it's cooled off? Is it still moist?
I got an impatient. No, it's still moist.
It's still okay. So it is a very moist cake if you're looking for more pumpkin spice. That seems to be our consensus. So this last one was Once Upon a Chef, and that was your favorite.
Yep.
It definitely had less spice added in than probably any of these, but that seemed to be your preference.
Yeah.
Considering the gold standard.
If you're going for pumpkin bread, in my opinion, you want pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
If you want pumpkin spice,
yeah.
Well, you go get a pumpkin spice latte.
Or you go for this.
Or you go for this.
As we've said, these are just 5 of the ones that I was able to find using different methods, plus the one that my family's made for quite a number of years because it's stupid easy.
Those are the muffins.
Yep. These are just a couple of samples. Look online yourself, find some that you like. If you see one out there, please let us know. I'd love to try it. I'll get him to test it.
Yep.
And
I am the pumpkin connoisseur.
And the link for
Queen City Pastries, as well as Clutch Coffee, which is where I go all the time, where everyone knows your name, with my name.
those links will also be in the description below, along with the links for each one of these recipes. So that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful fall, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
So